Hello and welcome back to Off Track Podcast with me, Dave Neal. Proudly sponsored by SAF Holland, known for delivering quality axles, braking systems, suspension and telematics to the bus, truck and trailer industry. And also proud sponsors of the JR Performance National Superstock team. In this, our fourth episode from World Superbikes at Donington Park, we sit down with former BSB rider and Motocorsa Ducati man, Ryan Vickers. Ryan explains about the switch to World Superbikes and the adaptation to Magneti Marelli electronics, and it's a truly fascinating listen. He really is making great strides in the championship. If you're new here and you enjoy what we do, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and make sure you check out what we've done in the past through the back catalogue. But that's enough from me. Let's get on with it. Ladies and gentlemen, Motocorsa Ducatis, Ryan Vickers. Enjoy.
Are you watching them?
Nah, you spoke the team name wrong.
Motocorsa. Motocorsa, that's an A.
It's an A.
That's an A.
I thought it was an E.
No, super professional.
I know where we are. I was going to get you there.
Well, while we're at it, Motocorsa Ducati. Ryan Vickers, mate, welcome back to Off Track. Great to see you here in the World Superbike paddock.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. And yeah, a bit more to catch up on and a bit of a change. And yeah, enjoying it overall. It's really nice to be here at my home round at Donington. And to be honest, Donington has always been one of my favourite circuits on the BSB calendar, but it hasn't been my home round. Yeah, it's nice to call this my my home round now.
Tell me about the season so far, because it's been a Herculean change from the BSB Championship to the World Superbike Championship. Tell me about the year so far from your point of view.
Yeah, it's exciting to start with. As I've seen a good place in BSB and was really excited for the opportunity coming onto a Ducati with quite an experienced team. And yeah, you know, it's been good. I thought honestly the results would be a little bit better, you know, but the level is so high, more than what I thought coming into it. And also from last year, the level has got so much higher this year. Every circuit we've been to, lap records are smashed and the race times are 25 seconds faster this year, which is crazy considering actually the bikes haven't changed much. But yeah, obviously a lot to take into account. New circuits, new electronics, new bike, never ridden a Ducati at all. And, you know, riding for an Italian team as well. So it's been a tricky start, but a nice learning curve. I'm enjoying it and we are progressing. So that's the nice thing about it. We are getting better each time. We've finished every race bar one. So our experience is getting better and we're getting there now. So I'm happy to say that, you know, I feel like I will make it work and looking forward to my first round here at Donington.
Tell me about the first time you got on the bike and the first time you rode the World Superbike in full World Superbike trim.
Yeah, well, first of all, I got on it, and the Ducati is so fast. It was so fast in a straight line. And actually coming off of, you could say, the slowest superbike, the Yamaha is renowned for not being the fastest bike in a straight line and being quite tame, quite an easy bike to ride, which is completely true. Getting onto the fastest bike, especially in the straight line. And I remember at Jerez, I was like, wow, like unbelievable. You know, I was even not really trusting to get to 100% throttle down like some of the straights, because also I was used to feeling that the bike was going to wheelie, you know, but it doesn't, because you got all the anti-wheelie and all that sort of stuff. And I still remember my first test at Jerez, and the guys were saying, like, you know, you're using the rear brake on the exit and stuff like that. Like, we don't want you using it anywhere on the exit. You need to completely get rid of it, go to 100% and just trust that it's gonna stay. I'm like, really? Like, okay. And then you do it and it works, and the front wheel just hovers an inch off the floor and it just weaves down the straight. It's crazy. Like, and that was my biggest thing. And even still now, it's still like little bits, but obviously not so much as the first test. But that was my biggest thing, was the speed of the bike, and actually, you know, how well the electronics work. You know, you can do a lot with the bike. You know, you can really fine tune it. But the first test we didn't change too much, so that was my initial thoughts.
How much more is there to come from Ryan Vickers and from the Ducati?
Yeah, for sure, loads. I'm still not able to ride as hard as I know I can ride. That's the thing. I'm still not extracting nowhere near everything out of myself. There's still to be honest, it's not like it's a complete lap problem either. It's like you look back at Mazzano, many people don't look at the details in the sectors and stuff like that, but like sector 1 we was like P6 P10 all weekend. Sector 2 we was in the top 3 all weekend pretty much. Sector 3 we was 18th. Curvone. Last sector we was in the top 6 all weekend.
So it turns all right.
Yeah, but actually, funny enough, that's one of the weaknesses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of the fast turn.
Oh, from the fast. Yeah. So your Curvone is your high speed.
Any
change your direction.
starting corners, amazing.
Yeah.
And that's literally we looked at the data and it was literally Curvone. That is the only place, and I was losing half a second a lap. But I couldn't figure it out. I don't know. It's difficult trusting the electronics there. You know, your 5th gear flat, and you just roll a little bit, but you've got to get the timing of it perfect, and it's really complicated with the electronics there. So it was, we improved a lot, but it still wasn't enough. You know, it still wasn't enough. But you know, we've really cracked the bike on a lot of variations of corners, but it's just certain places where you've still got to adapt, and that takes a little bit more getting used to. So yeah, enjoying it. It's good fun.
It's great to see you smiling, and you got a bit of a tan as well, which is always
yeah.
It's doing all right. So from the Curvone perspective, if the one thing that you need to improve on with the bike and with yourself and the electronics is the high speed change of direction after 7 rounds, that's really good progress.
Yeah, and you know, it is because we started off with a lot of problems. You always do, but you know, I remember even going to Jerez and going to Portimao for the first time and stuff, and there was many corners where there was issues, you know, and okay, there's always issues, but little things that you can fix with maybe a bit of engine brake or a bit of traction or a bit of like a millimeter here or a millimeter there, you know, not big problems. But you know, Mazzano Curvone was a big problem because we wasn't losing any time on any of the rest of the lap, but we was losing a big chunk of time there. So that's just a bit of adaptation, and like you say, it's seeming to be similar corners that we struggle the most on, and it's a little bit to do with riding style, confidence, experience as well. And there's always, I don't know, saying, you know, the fastest corners are always the hardest ones to get right because it's, you know, it takes a bit of experience and confidence.
We don't get many faster corners than that.
No, I've never been through a corner so fast. It's a fantastic corner. And that's the thing, I don't dislike the corner.
No.
If I was going through there every time thinking, I hate this, like I could kind of understand it, but I absolutely love it. It's a great corner. And you look at the data and I'm not doing barely anything wrong. Like I got to the point where I'm matching the throttle traces and stuff like that. But then, you know, it's just managing spin and all sorts of stuff. It's so difficult to get it perfectly right. But, you know, you're not looking for a lot. You're not looking for a lot. I mean, a 10th or 2/10 through that sector would have put me into the top 10 and that would have been fine. But it was just, I couldn't find it. It was just so difficult to find. So yeah, enjoyable corner, probably one of the most enjoyable corners on the track, but it was not my strong point.
You're always going to find things get thrown up for each track that you go to, especially it's nice coming home. You know your way around here. You know how a bike feels around Donington Park. But to go to Portimao, to go to Mazzano, to go to Phillip Island, which is like 2 stops from nowhere on the other side of the planet for your first round. Tell me about the trip to Oz and your baptism of fire that is Phillip Island.
Yeah, amazing. You know, Phillip Island was an incredible trip. The whole thing, I went out there quite early. You know, the flight out there, just everything. I've never been to Australia, and it's always been somewhere I've always wanted to go. So I met a couple of people out there. You know, someone introduced me to a few people and they showed me around a bit, and yeah, just fantastic. Absolutely loved Australia as a whole. And then the race, you know, it was fantastic. The circuit is amazing. I can't wait to go back there with experience, because it's a difficult circuit to go fast at, you know. I went out probably the first test session. I think it was my second test session of my time at Phillip Island, and I think, nearly my fastest lap of the whole test and the whole weekend, but just couldn't go any quicker. It's so difficult to find that last little bit. And a lot of things that people don't realize is like, you'll go out in the morning at Phillip Island and it'll be a headwind. It'll be a massive headwind down the straight, or a headwind. And then that makes it slow into turn one, so your braking markers earlier. Also through stoners, it's super easy to get the bike to turn through there. And then the last corner is the worst corners go around in the morning at Phillip Island, because the wind's pushing underneath you and the bike does not turn. It's so bad. And then you make setup changes, you get used to it, you get used to all your braking markers. Afternoon, the wind changes 180 degrees and it is directly down the start finish straight. And you arrive at turn one. I can't remember what it was. I think we was at 308 kilometers an hour when it was a headwind, and we was at 323 when it was a downwind.
That's 200 miles an hour.
Well, yeah, 320 is 200 mile an hour. And we was over 200 mile an hour when it was downwind. But I'm not talking like it was a big downwind. It just happens every day. Morning, it's a headwind. Afternoon, downwind. And you arrive at turn one so fast, your braking marker is like 50 meters earlier. And then you get to stoners, bike doesn't turn in because the wind's now underneath you.
Yeah.
And then the last corner, the bike turns amazing because now it's pushing you around the corner. And honestly, it's like riding a different circuit between the morning and the afternoon. And it's like that. And you're trying to get used to a new track and you think, oh yeah, I'm getting somewhere now. And then you have lunch break, you go back out and it's like somebody, like, what you're saying to the team, like, what have you done to the bike? Like, it's now not turning at all where it was great. And then it's like, oh, actually, no, the wind. And now it's not sort of stopping into turn one. And there's so many variables like that. And I've noticed that even just in the World Championship in general, with conditions, how they can change. You know, we did the Mazzano test and it was 40 degrees track temperature-ish, 45, 50 maybe. We get to the race weekend and it's 60-degree track temperature. It was like a different vibe. Like, the electronics completely different, the engine brake different, the tire so different. Like, it completely transforms the feeling and everything, more so than what it does in BSB. Like, that's the biggest thing that's difficult to get your head around and learn. You know, you'll have like your practice session in morning warm-up, the track temperature is 40 degrees again. So you've had your first race on Saturday and you think, right, we need to make some changes because the bike weren't good. It does not matter what you've changed. It feels perfect in morning warm-up because the temperature's lower.
Yeah.
So you've actually got to go out and warm up, and you don't really know if it's made it a bike any better or not. And you've got to guess. Yeah, because then when you go back out in the afternoon, it's 60 degrees again. And you've just got to guess and hope that it's right. So this is where the experience of the riders and the teams come in. You know, there's a lot of support in this paddock. The teams, especially the factory teams, they're big teams now. You know, there's 40 engineers in the factory team now, which is very difficult to compete with a really small team. So you've got to work so hard to do that, you know. So yeah, there's plenty of new things that we've waffled on from Australia there, but that's like a general thing, you know. Is the tracks are so different, so different conditions, everything.
When you go, I've never been to Phillip Island. When you go there, and this is more from a fan's point of view, because you're still a fan of the sport, even though you're in it, were you allowed to sort of give yourself a minute and go, I'm at Phillip Island. How did I get here?
I know, it's cool.
Do you give yourself a chance to appreciate where you are?
It's super nice because on like the day before you start the test, I think it is, or the day after the test, I can't remember which way around it is now. And you do all like the start of the year photos, and you're on the start straight at Phillip Island, you know, and you stood around for a little while in your levers and you're looking at the sea and everything. And luckily we had good weather, and you know, it's an amazing place to be. And you know, it's just fantastic. You stood there with, you know, Iannones and Petrucci's and Toprak and all of these people, Johnny Ray, and you know, they've beaten Valentino Rossi many times in races. Some of the greatest races of all time have been, you know, Iannone's been in there and stuff, and Petrucci won at at the Magello and stuff. You know, it's just fantastic, great experienced people, and you know, stuff that I grew up watching as a kid, and now I'm stood on the grid about. You know, tomorrow I've got to go and try and beat them. Like, not friends no more. You know, like, yeah. No, it's a nice experience, and I think there's no better place to do that than Phillip Island.
And I love that you can allow yourself to do that, because I think that's important to be in the moment, because you only do things for the first time once.
Yeah,
I know that sounds really
it's
basic,
100%. Yeah,
but you get what I mean with that. So being in the moment for the school photo, first day at Big School, and it just feels so good to see you out there and the progress that you're making. In terms of the electronic side, as you spoke about, I know that the data is open across all the teams. How much does that help you understand how you're riding? Is there anybody in particular that you can kind of compare yourself to? Because everybody rides different. But somebody's going to be nearer than you than, say, Alvaro, because he's man in a child's body, and you can't replicate that.
It's interesting. I mean, there's obviously similarities. I think nearly all of the Ducati riders are actually very, very similar, as in, you know, like me, Alvaro, Sam, you know, Scott, Petrucci, we all actually have a very similar riding style, more comparative compared to the only one that's maybe a little bit different to anyone is Bulliger, really. And that's what everybody's kind of chasing. You know, we can see he's doing some stuff slightly different. I don't know if that comes from, I would say it comes from more of a Moto2 background, but then Sam doesn't have that. You know, I don't know, but he's riding in a slightly different way compared to how the Ducati, I would say, you know, its history is like to be ridden. And he's not doing so much of that. And he's getting more out of it. So it's an interesting thing. And, you know, we're all at such a high level that you look at the data sometimes and there's nothing in it. Absolutely nothing. Like you're looking at stuff and you're like, well, you know, you're talking like half a bar of pressure and nothing, absolutely zero. But these things make a difference, and that's what I've learned, especially from BSB. You know, the engineers really dissect the data a lot more here, and actually you see a small difference, but okay, you do that small difference everywhere. There's a few things that I've been told about here that I need to do with riding that I've never ever been told about. I never knew even existed. I didn't know how it could possibly help stop the bike better, but it does. And there's a theory, and they show you, they know exactly how to get the most out of that bike. And that's the interesting thing with these riders, with looking at Alvaro and all of these people, their experience and the level that they're riding at. But it's quite a refreshing thing to see when you look at the data and you haven't even looked at his data, and then you say, oh, can you overlay it? And you overlay it and there's barely any difference. And that's quite satisfactory for me because of the
100%.
experience level difference, you know?
Shows you're doing things right.
Yeah, so that's come with time. There was a bigger difference at the start, but there's stuff that we've worked towards and stuff, and riding the bike in more of a specific way. And now, honestly, there's not a huge difference. There's not a huge difference. And it's mainly the rotation that I lose all the time. Braking and acceleration and everything else, there's nothing in it. And areas that I'm maybe stronger and slightly weaker. It's just, you're looking for nothing in this game now. And that is the problem, is everybody in this championship is super fast. It's super, super fast. You know, the lap times that I'm doing and how hard I know I'm pushing. Okay, even though I'm still not able to get as much out of the bike as what I want at the moment. But where I'm at is still so high the level, you know, it's like a like your best qualifying lap every lap of the race, every single lap of the race. And if you make a mistake, you can guarantee that you're gonna get 3 people past you, because there's 3 people waiting. There's not really ever a gap, it feels like, you know, someone's always on your heels. So that's the thing. And even in a session practice, there's no let up. You can't be slightly off, because if you are, you're last, like stone cold last.
How much have you improved as a rider in this time, do you feel?
Yeah, quite a lot. Yeah, quite a lot. You learn new things, like I say, they tell you things that I've never even heard of before. So you definitely learn more. And at the moment, I'm having to think about it when I'm riding because it's new. But the more that I've gone through this season, the more when we overlay the data, it's actually becoming more the same. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't even think about that now. So it is becoming more second nature. And that's the thing that's difficult. It's difficult to go fast when you're thinking about stuff. You go fast when you know the circuit, the bike, and you can go out and you can just focus on going fast, hitting your markers and going fast. At the moment, I'm thinking about, I need to be sitting in this position, using the rear brake here, getting off of it here, don't do this, don't do that, which is difficult. But for sure, I've learnt a lot. And I'm going to continue to learn more. That's the thing.
I spoke to Sam Lowes earlier on about almost exactly the same thing, because he's a little bit further down the line, but the same process last year in switching from Moto 2 to World Superbike he said exactly the same thing. He's like, I'm thinking about where I'm sat. I'm thinking about how I'm braking. I'm thinking about where I should be. Then all of a sudden you get in a race. You can't even think about that, because you've got some geezer in front of you and 3 people behind you that want your place on track.
Yeah.
So he said, great, in a test session, in free practice, in qualifying, when he's out on his own, he can do it because he doesn't need to think about it. Then all of a sudden, you put 28 other riders on track.
You can now not brake there, and you can't do that, and you can't do that line because someone else is there. Like, that's the thing. It takes a lot. And Sam's made a big step, and even I've spoken to him myself, and he's like, the first year is not easy, and I've heard that. I'm only going off of what other people have told me, that the Ducati is an amazing bike, but one of the most difficult to figure out. But once you do, it's like somebody's just like turned the chokes off, and it's like, what, massive. It must be, because there's no way I can push any harder than what I'm doing at the moment, riding the way I am, to go any faster, because I'm like crashing every corner almost, like you're on the limit. But there's a way of getting past that, but you've just got to do it in a certain way, and you've got to get the bike to do it as well. But it's a combination. That's the biggest thing.
There's a process to follow, isn't there?
Yeah,
and
sure.
Patience is a big thing of that.
Yeah.
And mostly motorcycle racers aren't known for their patience. But in this paddock, on these racetracks against these riders, you have to be.
Yeah.
Is that something you're also learning as well? Because to mature as, we know you're a smart guy. You know what it's all about. That's why you're here. That's why you're learning at the pace that you are. But is there a point where you suddenly have to rein yourself in because your expectations exceed not your ability at this point, for want of a better word?
Not so much, as in the sense it's just trying not to go back into old habits, if you know what I mean. That's the thing, especially when you put your visor down for a qualifying lap and take your brain out. It's kind of, you've got to remember to do it in the correct way, because otherwise you will crash, because it's not possible to ride like most people do, and you can get away with to a certain level, but it's not possible to go any faster until you change the way you're doing it. And if you don't do that, when you then try and push even harder, you crash, and then you think, why did I do that? And you look at it, and that's why, kind of thing. That'd be interesting actually to ride at Donington, because I know the circuit very well. We've been fast here, we've been pole positions many times, we've won here and whatever else. So I know the circuit really well, and the Yamaha's a good bike here. I've ridden here a lot of times. I understand how to extract a good lap time around here, and know where I need to be strong and where I need to be a bit patient, not use all the track or use all of it or whatever. So I look forward to going out on the World Superbike tomorrow and seeing if it's what I think it's going to be, or if it's not, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That'll be the interesting thing, because even the lap times of BSB at the start of this year were super fast, and they were faster than most of the World Superbike riders last year. But conditions, everything change, whatever else. But will be interesting. I'm excited to go out there. I've got a bit of experience with the bike. If Donington was the first round of the season, I'd be a bit like, nah, I wish it was a bit later. But I'm getting going now, and Mazzano was good, and it's looking like a dry weekend, which I'm super happy about, because we pretty much only ride in the dry. So it's that's where I've got the experience with the bike, and we just can. Hopefully I can roll out and use my experience of the track, use my experience of the 6 rounds that I've had, and see a bit of an improvement.
You've got form around here. It's if I remember rightly off the top of my head, your first checkered flag BSB win was.
Yeah, it was my first win.
Yeah. So you know your way around here. You've got great form. How much more is there to come from you before you can start pushing the bike further on a percentage thing? Because there's always there comes a tipping point where then there is more to come from the bike than you, and then more from you than the bike.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's strange. It's kind of a never-ending progression from the bike and the rider, really, in this, because with the electronics you can change absolutely everything at every point of the track. So it's so advanced, and like I say, when you get 10 degrees of temperature change, you need to adjust the electronics, you need to adjust the chassis, you need to, because the chassis doesn't work if the electronics isn't right, and the electronics don't work if the chassis isn't right. So that's experience from the team to understand what we've got to do when the temperature goes up. Okay, we need to do this to the chassis, we need to do this to the electronics to be able to optimize it. And also I need to understand, okay, what I've got to do in those conditions, what I've got to do with the bike. And it's just trying to optimize it all the time. I genuinely don't think that anything comes from one particular aspect. It's, even you look at the races, lap times wise, we only lose time in the first 9 laps, 8 laps of the race. That's really where we lose our time. I can't optimize a new tire. I don't know why. I don't have any more grip on a new tire. But my fastest lap of the race compared to my last lap of the race is like within a tenth. I can do the same lap time all race, whereas the guys at the front, they'll go 0.6, 0.7 quicker in the first 6, 7 laps.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the race, they're doing the same lap times as me, if not slower. So I'm normally a bit faster at the end of the race and catching a lot, which I've seen in the last sort of 6 laps. I'm going forward, but I don't know what I've got to do to optimize a new tire. Which I think, is a progression from me to understand a bit, and also electronics and stuff like that, and chassis, just maybe to give me more of something to be able to use the tire, because that's where we lose our time. So we're not far away, and I don't think there's anything revolutionary now. It's just optimizing everything, because we haven't got much experience with a Q tire. You only do 2 laps or so on a Q tire, so that's not a lot of data to then make improvements on. So it takes a few rounds to make any improvement, and that's been our weakest link, really. It's qualifying. Our race pace has always been quite strong, but I think definitely we can improve the bike there from a chassis point of view and electronics, to optimize again the extra grip, because I can't seem to go any faster when I put a Q tire in, really, not much, which is strange.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But you can see on the data, I'm getting the same amount of spin as what I am on a 15-lap-old race tire. So it's like, it's strange. We're not optimizing some things, but then race-wise, I'm really happy. The bike's really come on well, and it's just experience. I've not ridden on a Q tire, so it's the first year for that. So yeah, we're just trying to put all the pieces together now in a weekend, and that's what I think coming here will help, because I don't need to focus on the track. I know my way around, and I'm going to be able to arrive at a good level straight away. So then we're going to be able to optimize the progress as in improving the bike through the weekend, because the first 2 sessions normally are me trying to find my feet, and then it's only 1 session and you go into qualifying. So it's very compact. Now we can use all of the session, all of the laps, and we'll learn a lot.
But this is world level racing. You don't have that luxury.
No.
Well, you have to have it.
Yeah.
But you haven't got it in the grand scheme of
things. Yeah,
exactly.
You've kind of got to make the best out of the situation.
How much are you enjoying getting in? I'll rephrase that. Are you getting involved in the electronic side and understanding that more than the Motec side with the Magneti Morelli? Because it's open electronics. There are so many things you can do with World Superbike electronics. Are you enjoying the learning process?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I had barely anything on it, and I would never understand it because it's super, super complex. But you learn more stuff and things like that. Even chatting to my electronics guy here and saying, you know, because I know where places where it's difficult to stop the bike, and okay, there we need maybe less engine brake, or here or whatever. And he's like, oh no, says don't worry, because you know, as the camber drops away, the bike automatically knows that and will automatically adjust the engine brake. I'm like, ah, okay, yeah. I'm like, fuck. I wish I had that in BSB, because that's been a nightmare. Like the old hairpin, you come down through craners and you brake. And you know, if you have too much engine brake, the rear's coming around on you and stuff like that. And he's like, "Ah, yeah, but that shouldn't be a problem." I'm like, "Oh, why?" Because it knows the angle of the track, and it knows the lean angle, and it will automatically adjust the engine brake. It automatically knows. It's like got a 3D map of the track. It knows every angle, every whatever. It's unbelievable, the technology, that it's just like, okay, well, I'll just ride the bike, and if there's a problem, I'll tell you. That's easier. Okay.
You do that, I'll ride it.
Yeah.
That's the easiest thing. When I asked this of Jonathan earlier, and I asked him it last year, and I think it's a lovely little question. When you're sat in the airport at Jerez, that's the last round, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sat in the airport, waiting to fly out. When you look back on the season, what would you class as a success?
Just progression. I said that from the start. People say, "Oh, what's you got a target with results?" I'd love to see results, but I know that if I just focus on progression on myself, the results will come, and that's proven so far. And it would be nice, to have a podium, but I've got to be realistic. That's probably not going to happen this year. It's difficult. You never know. Get a wet race,
Exactly.
or something. It quite easily happen.
Tara McKenzie at Most.
Yes.
In the Super Sport.
Yeah, exactly. You never know. You never know. And we've got to take any of them opportunities that come with both hands, and we will. But I can't set any expectations. I might have a really good round here at Donington, but then I go to a circuit that I've never been to, and then after that I go to another circuit that I've never seen, I've never been to. We can't expect to go out and potentially get 3 top 10s at a circuit I've never. We've got to realign the expectations at every weekend at the end of FP1. That's the only time that we can analyze our expectations, is the end of FP1. Go, okay, where are we? Right, we're P21. Okay, FP2. We're P16. Okay, FP3. Okay, yeah, lap time was a 1 minute 25. Yeah, FP3, 1 minute 25.2. We're getting better. That's the only type of progression that I can look at and keep a track of, and want to keep the same, because it's so difficult to know where you're going to be at tracks. And I'd love to say, yeah, we could run in the top 10 consistently, and I think, yeah, we can when we've got experience. But in this year, with the level, when you don't know the tracks, it's very difficult. So that's my only goal, and if I can do that, even now, I'm happy. Finishing a lot of the races, and only one I've crashed out of.
Consistency
is really good.
Really, really
Yeah,
good, because that's how you build data and experience.
Yeah.
You're not going to build experience picking gravel out.
No. Maybe I've had crashes in practice, but
that's all right.
Most of them have been really small, little front ends, not many big ones as such. Not, you see some people and bike comes back in, and like literally 2 wheelbarrows. It's quite easy to do. But we've been quite fortunate with that. But mainly it's the races. At the end of the day, you don't score any points for practice qualifying or anything. That's when you learn. So we learn in practice. If we have a crash, well, we learn. So the race, we've learned, and then we can try and deliver a result.
It's usable data, and it's consistent laps, 26,
Exactly.
20 laps, whatever.
Yeah.
That's the consistent data.
Yeah.
We have our patrons who kindly help us out every month to keep the show going.
Yep.
So I'm super grateful for, because we couldn't do this without them. And we'd always put it out to our patrons for questions.
Brilliant.
And I don't vet these beforehand.
Perfect.
So it's
I won't vet the answers either then.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, mate. First up is Mick Strickland. How do you think you would have got on in BSB this year, with the bikes being quicker and the caliber of rider where it is? I always had you as my start of the season top 3 in BSB. I felt you had what it takes to win the championship. The stars just didn't align for you with the mechanicals and injuries. You're looking strong in Worlds, by the way. Keep up the good work. Look what it's done for Brad.
Yeah, brilliant. No, it's a good question. It would have been amazing to go into another year in BSB, coming off of a lot of wins, a lot of podiums, and pretty unluckily not really being in the title fight, with a few things going wrong. And Brad's riding great this year, but I think I can even from watching, I can see that he's brought some experience that I've learned from World Superbike to BSB. And he's setting a great strong pace, but I'm sure, especially being on the Yamaha as well, another year with the team, we would have been right up there battling for the wins for sure. And yeah, it's one of those things. I think we could be fighting for the championship. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I mean, yeah.
But at this point, you're in World Superbike.
Exactly.
Love
So
it live.
yeah, and that's it.
We're still going,
I'll leave you there.
5 minutes.
That's all right, I'm not in no rush.
Your dad says.
I know.
He's such a good guy.
He definitely knew he was in it.
Of course he did.
So my mum, Roger, everybody's walked out. They've been speaking to each other for half an hour saying, "Oh, Ryan's doing a podcast in there." He just wanted to be on it. That's all it is. He knew exactly what we were doing.
Paul Vickers, wheelie king of East
Yeah,
Anglia.
100%. And he's like, oh, sorry, didn't know you was in it. Nah, get out.
It's a good job the camera's pointing this way, not that way.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Mick. Andy Dickinson. Ryan, which is your favourite track on the calendar and why?
World Superbikes.
Mm-hmm. So far.
I'm going to say Mazzano. I'm going to cut to it. Mazzano. I loved it. It's got a bit of everything. Cavone is fantastic. Not my fantastic point. But I'll figure that out next year.
It's great you've got that option now.
Yeah.
It's not just a 1 year thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'll go Mazzano and Phillip Island.
Perfect.
I never have one. If you've seen me in BSB, it was 4.
You go well where you go well.
Yeah.
And also, what would you choose? British tracks with Mediterranean weather or World Superbike tracks with British weather? That's a deep one.
Yeah, it's quite difficult, that is. I'm gonna say world tracks with British weather, just simply being from a fan's perspective, is that there would be a hell of a lot of burnt people at BSB if it had Mediterranean weather. So I'm thinking of the fans there. That's not me. I'm just thinking there'll be a hell of a lot of burnt people. So
this weekend, 30+ degrees at Donington Park. There's going to be some red people out there.
Exactly.
They know how to deal with it on the continent, don't they? They know how to cover. Most people cover up. They don't. With hot weather in the UK, everybody strips off.
Well, exactly.
On the continent in Australia, they get dressed.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a different way of doing it. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Andy. Simon Breeze, how has Ryan settled into the European way of life now you reside abroad? And what do you see as the biggest pluses and minuses as opposed to residing here?
Absolutely love it. It's been fantastic. Probably the best thing I've done. I love the culture, everything about it. It's a very active culture in Italy. Everybody cycles, runs, goes to the gym, hikes. It's very active. The food is fantastic. The climate is amazing. And the plus side of it, I think, is one, being close to the team, because that was the only reason originally I was going there, is that it was in my contract that I need to live close to the team.
Yeah.
And that was it. So that is obviously a benefit, because you build a relationship with the people you're working with, especially being a foreign rider into an Italian team. It's good to have that. So that's definitely one benefit. But from an athlete's point of view, training at altitude, training in heat, everything, it's a hot weekend here at Donington. It's 29, 28 degrees, 30 degrees. But honestly, that's not hot.
There's not a bead of sweat on you and I'm dying.
Yeah, honestly, you adapt to it. You do adapt to it. At the start, I was like, oh my God, how on earth am I meant to go cycling this? It's 37 degrees. Like, what? You can't deal with it.
Pasty Norfolk boy.
But you get used to it. We did a cycle, it was 160k, it was out for 6.5 hours, and it was 35, 36 degrees. And, we got up 3,000 meters of climbing, and you get used to it. You do. Same as anything, you don't burn to death now. I've got a bit of a tan.
You have, that's it.
Like, it's back of my neck. I remember when we used to have a hot round in BSB, and just because your neck from getting tucked in, I used to have burnt neck. Now it's like, it's not a problem. But no, honestly, it's so much better for fitness and training and stuff like that. Because of the hotter climate, it's just more consistently hot. Don't go down below 29 degrees at night. So it's crazy. Luckily I got aircon, but yeah, that's the why I enjoy it, and also why I think it's a benefit.
Whereabouts are you based?
Lake Como.
Oh, nice. So you've got the Alps not too
Yeah.
far away as well.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
It's fantastic.
Worst places to be.
Nice.
Excellent. But it does, it puts you in the right frame of mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's, everything is, as I've said it on each podcast so far, everything aligns.
Yeah.
And that's part of the puzzle
Yeah.
as well, without having to fly from Stansted every time you want to be somewhere to be with the team.
Yeah.
It's all there for
And
you.
also being actually alone as well, in some ways, is because you don't have many friends. You do have a few people, but I have friends, but friends that I go cycling and go to the gym with. I don't have friends that I go for a coffee with, really. I don't have friends that I go for dinner with, really. It's like I go to train with people and then I go eat on my own every time. But that helps because the only thing that I've got to do there is train and be ready for racing. I don't have anything else that I need to do. You know, when I'm back home, I've been home for a week. Like I've been trying to get out on my push bike, but it's difficult. I don't have the time to go out for 6 hours on the push bike because people are pulling me pillar to post because people know I'm there.
Of course.
And that's the difficult thing with living somewhere where you have a lot of family and a lot of friends. It is a distraction as such, so it gives you that focus because you're on your own.
Not doing 3,000 meters of climbing there, are you?
Yeah, exactly. When I went back to Norfolk, I was like, there's not much around it.
It's all about distance. Chris Turner, how have you changed your approach to racing this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously I'm not here to win. There's a different thing. I've got to take it as a learning curve. I've got to build into the sessions. You know, first session is very the basics, you know, really thinking of the basics, you know, the circuit, just the lines, studying lines, and having a lot more preparation before the races, you know, making notes, watching races back. Okay, they're using this curb, that curb, they're not using that one. Okay, here it looks like there's a bump. There's a lot of people crash at that corner. You know, just dissecting the circuits, because BSB, I know exactly where the bumpy parts are, the slippy parts are in the wet, everything. But I don't so much here. So that's a big thing. The pre-race preparation is more. And I actually remember my first year in British Superbikes, I did a lot of that, making notes. And then you do a couple of years, you don't need to do it anymore. You know.
Yeah.
You know, might watch a race back before I go to Snetterton and just have a look, have a
It's a
reminder
reminder
of who was fast, so I know when I get there who's going to be on my tail. You know, so it's a different approach, and more of a basic approach, as in going back a few years in my career.
you're going from, you're going to make that transition at some point from learning to refreshing. The big difference.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an impressive thing to have in your locker. Thank you for that, Chris. And finally, Craig Lowe, we covered this a little bit. How was the transition to World Superbike and Ducati, and was it what you expected?
More difficult for sure, and that's not even highlighting electronics or anything, but you know, the bike is completely different. It doesn't have a frame. That's the weird thing. And that's its characteristic, single-sided swinging arm. It is so different to, you know, an inline four with a frame and a double swing arm. It handles so different. And I didn't think in such a particular way. You know, you have to ride it in a specific way to get a specific level out of it. Otherwise, it is very difficult. So yeah, that's been the difficult adaptation, along with the electronics. They work hand in hand. And that's the thing. You're trying to understand a bike, but then you've got something else in the background doing something else. So it's like that changes the bike quite a lot. So it's difficult to understand it, but that's why having a good team, having a good people around you to be able to say, look, trust the process. You do it this way, keep doing it, keep learning, and it will come better. And it is starting to come better. So that's the thing. You've got to trust the process. And it, like I say, I don't feel like I'm on my limit, as in the sense that I know I've been able to get more out of a bike, but I need to understand how to be able to get it out of this bike. That's the thing, because I can't get it out of this bike the same way I got it out of the Yamaha or even the Kawasaki or even the BMW. It's so different. It's completely separate to itself. And I heard this a lot from people that say, they've had a track day bike and they've bought a Ducati and they've gone slower. Even though it's miles faster bike, it's a far superior bike, but it's so difficult to ride because they're super stiff. Things like that. And that's the difference. It's a race bike. It's a race bike, and it's probably the closest bike you can get to a MotoGP bike as such. Yeah. So there's a lot of specific characteristics that you've got to get used to. Even of riding the new V4S with the double swinging arm, it's a completely different bike. And it takes away some of these real struggles that I have this year or in the transition process. So yeah.
There's a lot to learn, a lot to take in. It's been fascinating, Ryan. Thank you so much.
No worries. You're welcome. Thanks.
All the very best for the weekend and for the rest of the season. 12 months' time, hopefully we'll be sat here doing the same thing again. That step will have been made, and we'll be talking about top fives, top sixes, podium challenges. But all the best for the weekend, mate.
Thank you
ever so much.
Thank you very much. Cheers,
Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Vickers.
A big thanks to Ryan for his time at Donington Park on the Thursday, and we wish him and the Motocorsa Ducati team continued success and progress throughout the rest of the World Superbike season. Also, a massive thank you to Saf Holland for sponsoring the episode. They make such a huge difference to the show for us to be able to do things like go to Donington Park for World Superbikes and continue producing the show that we are doing. Next time out, which will be tomorrow, the younger of the two Lowe's twins, it's Alex Lowe's, Bimoto by Kawasaki's World Superbike contender, joins us for a chat about the season so far, the switch to Bimoto, and his hopes for the rest of the season. So make sure you join us for that one tomorrow. So until then, thank you so very much for watching, and please do look after yourself. Bye-bye.